August can feel like a turning point. The early summer show is fading and the garden begins to quiet down. But just when the color starts to slip away, some flowers step into the spotlight. They don't mind the heat. They thrive in it, blooming boldly while others fade. In this video, we're highlighting 10 of the best late summer bloomers, flowers that peak in August and carry the garden into fall. If your garden's feeling tired, these are the plants that will wake it back up. Let's start with a hidden gem that never fails to surprise, Japanese anemone. Just as the garden begins to fade, this elegant perennial sends up tall, slender stems topped with soft pink or white blooms that seem to float in midair. They bring a gentle energy, swaying with every breeze, softening borders with their graceful presence. Each bloom is simple but striking, a golden center framed by wide-open petals, rising above dark green foliage. They thrive in dappled light or morning sun, making them perfect for brightening the quieter corners of your garden. And the best part? They keep blooming well into early fall. Japanese anemones prefer moist, well-drained soil and grow well in zones 4 to 8. Once settled, they're dependable and long-lived, returning stronger each year with minimal care. A true late-season beauty that quietly transforms your garden when you need it most. Next up is a plant that brings sunshine even when the skies are tired, Rudbeckia, also known as black-eyed Susan. Its golden petals and dark chocolate centers stand out like bursts of late summer light, filling the garden with bold, cheerful energy. Just when color starts to fade, this one turns it all back on. The flowers rise on strong, upright stems, creating waves of yellow across borders or wildflower patches. They're loved by pollinators and gardeners alike, low maintenance, drought tolerant, and almost impossible to ignore. Rudbeckia keeps blooming for weeks, holding its color deep into the fall. It thrives in full sun and average soil, adapting well to both garden beds and naturalized spaces. Hardy in zones 3 to 9, it's one of those perennials that asks for little but gives a lot. A true classic and a dependable star for the end of summer garden. For a haze of color and a touch of silver, look no further than Russian sage. This tall, wispy perennial erupts in soft lavender blue blooms that shimmer in the sun and glow in the golden light of evening. It brings height, movement, and a calming presence to the late summer garden. Its finely cut silvery foliage smells faintly herbal, and the stems hold their shape beautifully all season long. Pollinators swarm to its tiny flowers, and it pairs effortlessly with grasses, coneflowers, or Rudbeckia. Even in heat and drought, Russian sage keeps going strong. It thrives in full sun, dry soil, and thrives in zones 4 to 9. Once established, it's nearly indestructible, low maintenance, and highly rewarding. Perfect for prairie-style borders, gravel gardens, or anywhere that needs soft structure and long-lasting color. Garden phlox is the life of the late summer party. It bursts into tall clusters of blooms in shades of pink, white, lavender, or magenta, sweetly scented and always buzzing with visitors. Butterflies and hummingbirds can't resist it, and neither can your eyes. Its upright form adds volume to the border without feeling heavy, and it keeps blooming for weeks with regular deadheading. Tuck it between grasses, Rudbeckias, or sedums, and you'll get a border that feels full and fresh long into fall. And the fragrance, soft and nostalgic, like a garden in slow motion. Phlox does best in full sun and rich, moist soil, and it's hardy in zones 4 to 8. It may need staking in fertile beds, but otherwise it's easy to grow and endlessly charming. A cottage garden staple that knows how to put on a show, especially when summer starts to slip away. Now here's a gentle giant that commands attention, Joe Pye weed. Its mauve-pink flower heads rise like clouds above tall stems, creating a dreamy backdrop for late-season planting schemes. And its soft vanilla scent, totally irresistible to bees and butterflies. Despite its height, Joe Pye is surprisingly graceful. The foliage is clean and upright, and the massive flower heads create a soft, hazy effect when planted in drifts. It brings vertical interest without feeling stiff, more like a meadow than a monument. It thrives in full sun or parched shade and prefers moist soil, though it adapts well once established. Hardy in zones 4 to 9, it's a native perennial that gives back to wildlife and holds up beautifully through early fall. A must-have for natural gardens, pollinator borders, or anywhere that needs a bit of wild elegance. Sometimes late summer needs a little fire, and that's where Helenium comes in. Also called sneezeweed, this bold bloomer erupts in blazing shades of red, gold, and orange just when the garden starts to cool off. Each flower looks like a tiny sunburst, full of life and warmth. The daisy-like blooms sit atop strong stems and bloom in succession, creating weeks of vibrant color. They mix beautifully with grasses, rudbeckia, or asters, adding energy to tired borders. With just a bit of deadheading, they'll keep the party going well into fall. Helenium loves full sun, rich soil, and consistent moisture, especially in hotter regions. Hardy in zones 3 to 8, it's a long-blooming perennial that stands tall through wind and weather. Perfect for bringing back boldness when your summer garden starts to feel a little too calm. Sedum Autumn Joy is one of those plants that sneaks up on you. It starts the season quietly, with tidy succulent leaves and green buds, and then, in late summer, it turns on the charm. The flower heads blush pink, deepen to rose, and finally settle into a rich rust by fall. The chunky blooms hold their shape even as they fade, creating structure and texture long after other flowers are gone. Bees love them, and so do designers. They're practically made for late-season balance. Tuck them into sunny borders, gravel gardens, or even containers for an easy hit of style. Sedum thrives in full sun and dry, well-drained soil, and it's hardy in zones 3 to 9. Once established, it's almost impossible to kill, drought-tolerant, and totally unfussy. Low effort, high reward, and always stunning when it matters most. For those craving a touch of the tropics, Hibiscus moschutos is the drama queen of late summer. Its enormous dinner plate-sized flowers bloom in pinks, reds, and whites, demanding attention from across the garden. When everything else feels tired, Hibiscus says, "Look at me." The blooms only last a day or two, but they come in waves, one after another, for weeks. Each one is bold, velvety, and unforgettable, especially when paired with grasses or darker foliage. It adds instant impact and a lush, exotic vibe to the landscape. This hardy hibiscus loves full sun, rich, moist soil, and heat, thriving in zones 5 to 9. It dies back in winter but comes back strong each year, bigger and better than before. Perfect for bold backdrops or dramatic borders that want to end summer with a bang. Now let's quiet things down with something unexpected, the toad lily. In shady corners where little else dares to bloom, this delicate flower shows up in late August with orchid-like grace. Its speckled blooms feel almost tropical, yet they belong perfectly in a woodland garden. Each flower is small but intricate, pale lavender or white, freckled with purple, and they open slowly, one by one. The arching stems and lush green foliage make them ideal for path edges or under trees. It's a plant that rewards close attention, not loud applause. Toad lilies thrive in part to full shade with moist, well-drained soil and grow well in zones 4 to 8. They're surprisingly hardy and long-lived, forming clumps that expand gently over time. A quiet, late-season jewel for gardens that favor subtlety over spectacle. And finally, for a flash of fire in the foliage, there's Japanese bloodgrass, also known as red baron. It starts green in early summer, but as August rolls in, the tips flush deep crimson, glowing like embers in the sun. This ornamental grass doesn't flower shallowly, but it doesn't need to. Its upright, slender blades catch the light and sway gently with every breeze, bringing movement and contrast to garden beds. It pairs beautifully with darker blooms, purples, or anything golden-toned. Plant it in clusters for maximum effect, or let it pop between rocks and pathways. Japanese bloodgrass thrives in full sun to parched shade and well-drained soil. Hardy in zones 5 to 9, it's slow-spreading and easy to maintain, adding texture without taking over. A perfect way to close the summer season, not with flowers, but with flame. Late summer doesn't have to mean the end of the show. With the right plants, your garden can stay alive with color, scent, and motion long after others have started to fade. These late bloomers don't just fill the gap. They create a second act, a softer, deeper, more golden version of summer. So whether your borders need a boost or your garden just feels a little tired, plant a few of these and let the season carry on.